अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः. अथ तृतीयोऽध्यायः. श्री भगवानुवाच मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः. ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः. ये त्वेतदप्यसूयन्तः नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्वज्ञानाविमूढांस्तान् विद्धि नष्टान् चेतसा. सदृशं चेष्टते स्वस्याः प्रकृतिर्ज्ञानवान् अपि प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निग्रह किं करिष्यति. इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नावशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्ययस्य परिपन्थिनौ. श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणाः परधर्मात् स्वनुतिष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावहः.
Yes, thank you. Very good. So, continuing with verse 34. I am first covering the topic without the help of the text, trying to summarize the concept so that it's easier to grasp wherever necessary the text is. This verse 34 is a very illuminating verse for those who seek spiritual direction. When in the world we find many kinds of opinions, paths, convictions that people talk of, etc., it becomes difficult, sometimes even confusing, and may not even bring us total clarity. What is my path? How do I proceed? How do I move towards my own spiritual unfoldment? What is that one nishchit path? Nishchit means it should be well determined, it should be proven, it should not be someone's whim and fancy, there for a little time, available in society because the society's got carried away by a certain thought flow or a certain leader or a certain personality or a certain method that that personality propagates, because we don't know if that will stand true tomorrow in time. So for a person who values their own life and opportunity that this life has brought, it is very fundamental to know what is that path which will, if I pursue, will take me certainly to my spiritual growth. Certainly it should. There should be no ambiguity. There should be no ifs and buts in it. There should be no vikalpa. There should be no vikalpa means there should be no alternative. It should be certain as a written word. Supposing when we say patthar ki lakir in Hindi, if you say, it's like ab pad gayi to pad gayi. That kind of a path to such seekers whose internal determination is powerful, is strong, is determination. Why? What should I pursue? Which will be changeless in time? For them, this verse is a real eye opener because, as I'm repeating myself, when there are so many opinions available in the name of spiritual path, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, aise kar lo, वैसे कर लो, so many, as many people, so many paths. मुझे क्या करना चाहिए? In this verse, which is like a fundamental to one's growth, directly proportional, I can say, directly proportional to your growth, is this what verse will reveal, is revealing. The fundamental here is rag and dvesh. What is rag and what is dvesh? Rag, we have seen in the past also, ranjate, one that colors your mind. Ranjate means coloring. जो आपको आपके नजरिए को बायस कर देता है, जो आपके नजरिए को रंगीन कर देता है, लेट्स पुट इट हिंदी, जो आपके नजरिए को शोभित कर देता है, दैट्स राइट वर्ड, जो आपके नजरिए को इंट्रैप कर लेता है, इंटैंगल कर लेता है, मतलब एक आशा जगा देता है, एक उम्मीद रखवा लेता है, दैट काइंड ऑफ इमोशन, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ स्टेट ऑफ सीकिंग, क्योंकि वो उम्मीद जगाता है, वो कलरफुल इमेज दिखाता है, वो शोभित करता है, जो शोभित करता है वो राग है. राग हमेशा, always presumes that जो वो देख रहा है, जो वो एक्सपीरियंस में है, उसमें उसके आनंद मिलेगा, तृप्ति मिलेगी, fulfillment मिलेगा. They will get their happiness that they seek from that what the sense is perceiving. So rag means my dependency of fulfillment based on what I am experiencing. I pick up a particular object or a being, उसमें मेरी आशा आ जाती है, उसमें मेरी उम्मीद आ जाती है, उसमें मुझे दिखता है as if कल को if I continue interacting with this object or this person, I will get happiness, I will be fulfilled. वो एक उम्मीद आती है अपने आप. अभी आप उससे ज़्यादा Supposing you are chasing a car, when you are young and you see all these fast racing cars, and you say, oh, I also want a car. Hmm? And just seeing someone else's car, you don't own it yet, you don't have it yet, you saw it somewhere. You see a lot of places. If you see a good expensive car, then these young people go stand in front of them and take a selfie with the car, as if they can boast it that this is their car. That kind of an attitude किसी और के पास है अभी तो, मगर आपके इंद्रियों ने उसका दर्शन कर लिया, भोग लिया है, means they have seen it. The eye has seen its object, color and form, and that color and form happens to be a car in this example. And that car is, unfortunately or fortunately for you, of the color that you like. If you like a red car, it was a red car. If you like a yellow car, it was this sleek yellow convertible, etc. That car over there. Now, the minute you saw that, instantly there was a connection between the object and you. इंद्रियों ने उसको ग्रहण किया, उस ऑब्जेक्ट को ग्रहण किया, और जैसे ही उस ऑब्जेक्ट को ग्रहण किया, एक शोभना, एक शोभन वृत्ति जाग गई, उठ गई, बन गई, एक्सप्रेस होने लगी कि आई लाइक इट, वाओ कितनी अच्छी है. एंड सडनली देयर इज दिस, आप शायद सोच नहीं रहे थे तब तक, बट नाउ दैट शोभन वृत्ति, call it shobhana at this point, that shobhana इच्छा बनने लगी. You want it now. It started to build a desire to acquire that object. That strength in that desire initially is just a like. I like yellow and I like cars, and there happens to be a yellow car. I like it. I can leave it at that like. मगर like सिर्फ इच्छा है. The word of like can be translated many ways. Like means अच्छा लगा, it's okay, but it doesn't mean कि मुझे चाहिए. हर अच्छी चीज मुझे जरूरी नहीं कि चाहिए, मगर अगर वो मेरी इच्छा प्रबल हो जाती है, means it becomes strong and it comes to the point where अब मुझे चाहिए, this is where it becomes rag. Rag means there is a tivrata in my wanting to acquire that object or the being, contacting the being continuously, because I am projecting my happiness on that object or the being. So the more I get that in my contact, more I am hoping. शोभन है वो, उत्पन्न हो गया कि more I get this contact, the more happier I will be. This starts very naturally, automatically. This Bhagavan is saying, राग इष्ट वस्तु के लिए, किसी वस्तु पे इष्टता रखने, इष्टता means desirability. I value that for its sake. I want it. उस पे मेरी एक इच्छा जड़ गई है. जड़ गई means I have planted my desire on its fulfillment. And under such circumstances, it makes me restless. I need to get it. I will do slowly. I will first try normal methods. If my normal methods are not getting me, I will try wrong methods. पहले हम धर्म सही रास्ते से सब कोशिश करते हैं, जो उन्हें चाहिए पहले. Everybody tries what is the right method. But if that right method is not giving them what they want, that's when they start resorting to the wrong methods. Now they want something so desperately कि उसको जब तक मिलेगा नहीं, That car, if she has not got it, there will be disturbance, extreme disturbance, and that disturbance is varies in layers and shades, and it can be anger, it can be frustration, it can be jealousy if you this find there somebody else has got that car now and they still haven't got. It can be many shades of disturbances, to each one whatever is predominant in their gunas. ये है राग. Means इष्टता होनी चाहिए. इष्टता word has to be picked up as is. I have a desirability over an object or a being. It is preceded by my presumption that my happiness is dependent on that object and being. And that presumption has come because Indriya अपने विषयों को ग्रहण करता है. Senses are contacting their objects. And in that sense contact, the Shobhana Vritti came up. I liked it. I didn't have to think. In liking things, there is no thinking. In fact, that is determining that you like it. वहाँ कोई विचार ही नहीं है. मुझे बस अच्छा लगा. अब इसमें कोई कारण है क्या मुझे क्यों अच्छा लगा? That is without any reason. In fact, कारण है क्या मुझे अच्छा लगा, वो मेरा कारण है. Why do I want it? मुझे अच्छा लगा. That is our कारण. Most of us flow with this. Our karan, our reason for anything in life is to do anything or to want anything in life is because I like it. That is a reason. My like doesn't have a reason. Why do I like it? There is no reason. We are not able to identify the reason. Shastra is pointing it to us. In the previous verse we saw, but I will not digress there at this point. Let me complete this. That I have a desirability over an object or a being which presumes, born from that shobhan that it will give me, it will, future tense. That like that it generated, that like has no reason. On top of it, that like के आधार पे I am projecting in the future that this like, when fulfilled, will be happiness, because like is giving me some happiness. Like है ही क्या? What do we mean by a like? A like means I get enjoyment out of it. I enjoy it. I like it. Like का मतलब ही क्या है? In fact, what is a like? Thanks to social media, what is a like? That's how they brought up the word like. That like, you know. Everybody, please, who's listening, wherever they're listening, give a like. Why give a like? What is a like? What is a like? Anybody's thought what is a like? What is the nature of a like?
Something that appeals to you.
Something that appeals to you. Yes. Why does it appeal to you?
Because you're projecting your happiness on it.
You're projecting your happiness on it. What is that nature of that appeal there? Good word. What is it appealing to you? Actually, appealing is a very good word. Thank you. What is it appealing to you? That it will give me happiness. It's a future. If I get this more and more of my like fulfilled, मुझे पसंद आ गया, मुझे अच्छा लग गया, उस अच्छा लगने का प्रमाण क्या है? What is the validity of the like? What is the reason behind the like? Why did I like a yellow car? Where is it coming from? That like, which is already there seated in my senses, in my mind, in my buddhi, that like, we are still at rag, we are not coming at dvesh. Yes, it's projected promise of happiness, correct. We are still not going into the dvesh part, we are still sticking to like. I like it. The minute I say I like it, what am I getting there? We have to observe, we have to see, we have to recognize. When we recognize what is happening at the level of like, Then we will understand what happens at the level of raga. We can understand what will happen at the level when this like grows, when it grows to become powerful enough that I will be miserable if I don't get it, and my entire life energy and force is generated only to acquire that or fulfill that like. I spend my entire life and energy and effort into fulfilling that like, however long it may take, and I'm trying my right methods. If they do not work for me, if they're not getting me, I will try wrong methods. I will try illegitimate methods. That illegitimate method means adharma. Legitimate method means dharma. I will try the righteous method first. Everybody tries the right thing first. Where does it become a vice? Where does rag become a problem? When the right method is not fulfilling, is not getting me the object, but my like has grown to such an extent that it's gone out of my control. बढ़ गई है, बहुत बलवान हो गई है, that it takes me, my effort, my mind, my buddhi, my energy, my resources, my relations, everything gets staked at the fulfillment of that desire. That is a like. I
तो
would,
दीप्ति जी हम उनके वश में आ गए हैं ना.
हाँ जी, yeah, yeah,
So you can also say at the initial level, like is very superficial.
yes, yes.
It's only when it gets more stronger, then it becomes.
Huh. At a level of a like, it is handleable. It's
Right.
just a preference. A like is a preference. I prefer tea over coffee. It's just a preference. That's it. I prefer white over red. You prefer red over white. You prefer coffee over tea. That's okay. These preferences will not will give us problem. Yeah, I'll come to that also. So let me finish this, and we'll keep the thing later. Um, so when the like gets overpowered, when it overpowers us, when it is appealing to us, that my happiness depends on that, therefore I need to get it. This is the nature of a rag. What is dvesh? Obviously, the opposite of it. Means my eyes have seen something, on my ears, any of the sense contacts. For example, we are taking eyes, it can be ears, it can be nose, it can be touch, it can be taste. I I see something. I see. Okay, seeing is difficult. I hear someone abusing me. I hear someone shouting at me. My ears have heard someone shouting at me. Someone's angry at me. Someone's pointing to me. Someone's finding a flaw in me, or something like this, something to that effect. Now, instantly, what does my mind have? What is my reaction? Do I like it?
No, not at all.
Does
And you
anybody
want to
like it?
react. You want to react immediately.
Does anyone like it? Nobody will like it if you're getting shouted at. Now, a dislike is something which is anishtata dikhna. Anisht means instantly my mind tells me this is not going to give me happiness. Where I am already projecting that this cannot be my happiness. That is a dislike. आई डोंट लाइक इट मीन्स इसमें मुझे पूर्णता नहीं दिख रही, इसमें मुझे मिल भी जाएगा तो भी मैं खुशी खुशी नहीं मिलेगी मुझे, मुझे ये मिल भी जाएगा तो भी आई डोंट एसोसिएट माई हैप्पीनेस विद द गेन ऑफ दैट ऑब्जेक्ट. सिंपल वर्ड्स. What is a dislike? Dislike is I do not associate that even if I get the object or the being, I will be happy. I can't associate my happiness with the fulfillment, with the gain of that object or the person. I can't see the connection. My happiness doesn't seem to be dependent on that. So where we are depending our happiness on, that is a great force. And where we are not, we are clear that this is not going to give us, and if it keeps getting pushed into our lives or pushed into our environment, we get greater and greater dislike, and it spills over into becoming an aversion, and it becomes goes on further into becoming dvesh, means actual hatred. You go to the point you start hating it. Hating dvesh means um, I must look into the Sanskrit word dvesh. Where does it come from? Dvesh. There is so much of a hatred for it. So rag is, there is overbearing, like overbearing attachment to it. It consumes your mind. Hate also consumes your mind, but in a way that I don't want it. I don't want it. In rag, what is it? I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. It'll go on repeating itself in the mind. I want it. I want it. At any cost, I want it. And I'm ready to do wrong things for it. What is hate? What is dvesh? Dvesh, aversion means I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. It goes on because you just feel the more it will be brought in your life or in contact with you, you are not seeing happiness there. Therefore, what is the projection? Because I don't see happiness there, what is my projection there? That I will be unhappy if I get it. बहुत ज़रूरी बात है ये, दोनों बहुत ज़रूरी बात है. एक तरफ है कि मुझे मिल जाएगा तो मुझे खुशी मिलेगी, आनंद मिलेगा, मुझे सुख मिलेगा, सो आई वांट इट. दूसरी तरफ है मुझे नहीं चाहिए बिकॉज आई एम नॉट एबल टू सी माई हैप्पीनेस इन एसोसिएशन विद दिस ऑब्जेक्ट और दिस पर्सन. दूर दूर भी नहीं दिख रहा कि अगर मैं इस इंसान के साथ या इस वस्तु के साथ, इफ आई गेट that yellow, what was the example, yellow car, if I get that yellow car or the red car, and if I see happiness there, I want it. But supposing I say, my god, what a maintenance this is going to be, what a burden this is going to be, I'll need a special place, it'll be so expensive, I'll need a special place, a garage for it, then I'll need a special I mean, it just is a mounting expense for what, to ride from here to there. I don't want it. Who wants to take care of so much of a so automatically there is no desire formed for it. I am seeing that if I have to get this object, supposing by you inherit it somewhere, by stroke of luck, you have inherited that object. But in your mind, what was playing with that object was that, array, I'll have to take so much care of it. It'll take my time. I'll have to be so careful. Nobody's stealing it. कोई टायर नहीं लेके जा रहा, कोई इसका शीशा नहीं चोरी कर रहा. I can't take it out Delhi roads anyway, or anywhere. Very few places in India I'll be able to drive it. What else can I do with it? It'll always be there is a. I don't want it. I don't find my happiness with it. My mind will work on what? If I don't find my happiness on it, my mind will work to say, how can I get rid of it? I want to avoid it. First, I'll try to see if it can be given to someone else. I will want to avoid it, etc., etc. This व्यवहार स्थित है ये राग और द्वेष. Particularities may be different, मगर इष्ट और अनिष्ट दृष्टि, दैट होना, इसमें मुझे मिलेगी और इसमें नहीं मिलेगी आनंद, दैट इज कॉमन देयर. नित्यम है ये. It will always be the same for everyone. Something or the other we will look upon as ishtam, and something we look upon as anishtam. This is common vyavhar to all beings. Where we see in specific कि ये किसी को आनंद मिल रहा है in certain sense pleasures, किसी को in sense pleasures में आनंद नहीं मिल रहा. That may be different because they see that this object will give me unhappiness if it gets associated with me. Like, for example, the best example, our timeless example, is cigarette smoking. Even a doctor knows that he should not smoke. He advises to his patient, especially a lung specialist, will write on the prescription of every patient of his: smoking is injurious to your health. Smoking is harmful. You cannot, there are some cases that get so bad, they are so badly affected, their lungs are, that uh, there's such a strict measure. The doctor says even one smoke can collapse your lung, so you just cannot afford to. But after a whole day of strenuous work, what is the doctor doing? He's doing, what is he doing? He's also smoking. He smokes. He knows, but he smokes. Now, this ishtata and anishtata on various objects or people or situations or places, anything, that Shastra is telling us here, Krishna is telling us, ये व्यवहार व्यवस्थित है, मीन्स स्थित है, इंद्रियों के विषयों में राग और द्वेष का होना स्थित है. That's a literal translation of the first line. इंद्रियों के विषयों में राग और द्वेष होना स्थित है. व्यवस्थित means it is there, it is organized, it is स्थित है. स्थित is the right word. व्यवस्थित में भी भाष्यकार, और here one of them says it's बैठा हुआ है वो वहां पे. By default everybody has. Again I'm repeating myself. On what we are giving the ishtata and anishtata, that is specific. But that we give ishtata and anishtata, that is common to all living beings. These indriyas are gaining strength because they operate on raga-dvesha. Suddenly, if I have held a like for a yellow car or a red car and I have seen it in some place, एकदम से इंसान कैसे ठहर जाता है, एकदम से एक्साइटेड हो जाता है, उसकी आंखें खुल जाती हैं, उछलने लगता है if it's a young person, and except only. Now, all this has happened instantaneously, naturally. ये राग और द्वेष इंद्रियों में जो बैठे हैं और मन में भी बैठे हैं, बुद्धि में भी है सब जगह पे. बट वेयर विल यू स्टार्ट द कंट्रोल फ्रॉम? इनको ये समझना कि जब ये इंद्रियों तक बैठ जाते हैं राग और द्वेष, आए कहां से हैं? फर्स्ट लेट्स गेट बैक टू यस्टरडेज पोर्शन. दे हैव कम बिकॉज ऑफ आवर ओन पास्ट accumulated karmas, those karmas that have resulted in my gain of the phalam, and those फल को मैंने इष्टता और अनिष्टता से कंक्लूड किया है जब मुझे मिले हैं, और उनको मैंने strengthen किया है by my pursuit of them. Those that are now strong, today I have woken up in this birth with a certain set of my gunas which hold in them the specific rag and dvesh ki potentials. They express themselves as individual likes and dislikes the minute I see it. My favorite example has been, I'm sure for most of us it must have worked, but the first time, I don't know, it's fascinating to me, it is fascinating personally. The first time the word Vedanta rang in my ear, I heard the word Vedanta. I had no clue what all this is. The first time I heard the word Vedanta, there was suddenly kaan khul gaya. You could feel your attention grew. Ekdam se. It just grew. I had never known that state of such an attentiveness in myself before that ever. The word Vedanta triggered a state of attentiveness. It triggered a state of, what is it? Curiosity. What is called Vedanta? Ye kya hota hai? And I was a kid, so I even ridiculed it in that sense. Okay, aisa thodi hota hai, in that sense, something like that. But the fact is, this triggered a certain rag as in your preference. You started having a preference towards it. Why? Because this preference lies in your antakaranam. And by the time it comes into your senses, when they contact and it triggers it, senses are contacting all the time, all the words, out of all the words, which word brought attention, triggered an attention, more attentiveness than the rest? That, excuse me, is showing that your senses contacted, and here lies your clue of your own preferences. This is a good example, but it could be anything else. You take absolute opposite example. In the country today, the world, why the country? The world, the youth is completely getting carried away by sense pleasures, and what they should not be falling for, they are tempted by today. That inhaling, smoking, certain kind of harmful substances. Why? The minute they hear of it, if it has triggered a like, even to experiment, why should you experiment something which is falling you into pits? Beyond my understanding at this point. But to someone it is a like, no judgment. To someone it is a like, but to another person it is, why should someone have a like? To them, what is Vedanta? Exactly the same attitude. If you say, Arey, I have spent my life with Vedantic knowledge, they'll give you a blank look. What is there in Vedanta? Why do you have you spent your life? कोई problem थी क्या life में? कोई मुश्किलें थी क्या? They can't associate jignasa, they can't associate vairagyam with the pursuit of knowledge. They can't associate a state of fulfillment from where you are coming into the knowledge seeking. It's a state of fulfillment from where you're coming to know further, to know. That's it. But they can't understand this. Why? This इंद्रियों के विषय में राग और द्वेष स्थित है. And this is coming from those bhog that we have done in the past. And that bhog has left a samskar. It's left an impression. And that impression is what we carry forward everywhere. And that is why Shastras would advise us again and again. And here Krishna is very, very straight in his words. Tayoho, for both of them, for rag and dvesh, between both of them, in both of them, na vasham agachet. Agachet means आ जाना. उनके वश में मत आ जाना. In राग द्वेष के वश में मत आ जाना. This is like a advice. This is like a caution. This, you have those where there are mines and they have this boards in front of them, in front of those where they're digging mines, or they have uh, land mines, etc., or some construction work is going, they'll have this red symbol over there. Do not go any further than this. If you go, then there is danger, there is risk. And it is a joke, of course, but it is true also. They'll put a skull and bones ka symbol there. Skull and bones means that skull and bones ka symbol means it's so dangerous that you will be reduced to skull and bones if you enter that area at your own risk. It is at your own risk. They can only put a prohibitory note there. They cannot prevent you from going. So, at your own risk, you should entertain raga-dvesh, is what Krishna is saying. Why? He says, these are your robbers. ये आपके अंदर स्थित बैठे हैं. राग और द्वेष जो आपके अंदर बैठे हैं, ये राग और द्वेष हैं जो आपके बाधा बनते हैं. ये राग और द्वेष हैं जो आपकी शांति को तोड़ते हैं, भंग करते हैं. Not only do they actually destroy your peace of mind, they also destroy your chitta shuddhi. Whatever you may have acquired by your past efforts, they will destroy that also ultimately, even if you go on feeding any like or dislike. Any like or dislike. one is enough to destroy. Exactly like they say, you may have gallons of pure milk, you have liters and liters of pure milk, but one drop of poison is enough to, or let's put it, one drop of lemon is enough to curdle it, and one drop of poison is enough to make it useless. It'll have the potency of poisoning you, destroy. One drop can make the entire liter of milk a poison. One drop has the potential of making the entire liters of milk poisonous. दैट मीन्स आपने अपने जन्म जन्मांतर में अगर इकट्ठा किया कुछ शांति, कुछ वैराग्य, कुछ विवेक, कुछ क्षमा दमा, कुछ तितिक्षा, कुछ अच्छे गुण आपने acquire किए भी हैं, what they'll call as दैवी संपत्त later on, by your own effort, by your own tapas, by your own purusharth, you would have gained something. But if the rag and dvesh, any, if you identify in yourself, any for any, anybody it can be, and it's ironical that Bhagwan leaves one or two people in the environment for rag and dvesh both. हर किसी की जिंदगी में कोई एक या दो ऐसे होते हैं, एक तरफ राग भी इतना होता है, एक तरफ द्वेष भी होता है. So they are enough to excuse me, they're enough to bind you. They're enough to destroy your entire chitta shuddhi. And destroy means it just robs, it becomes a pratibandhaka. You lose the eligibility in this life, at least for your own gati. Do not be a do not passively yield into your likes and dislikes without offering a fight and a resistance for them. Now, this is where, continuing with yesterday, if in the previous verse he says everybody acts by their nature, and in their own nature, in their own स्वभाव is this राग and द्वेष, बैठा हुआ है गुणों के हिसाब से, इंद्रियां अपने अपने विषयों को भोग रही है, हमारे गुणों के हिसाब से हमारी इंद्रियां हमारे विषयों को भोग रही है. इफ आई हैव एन एक्सट्रीमली सेंसरी प्लेजर बेस्ड गुण, जब मुझे सिर्फ आनंद मिलता है जब मैं सेंसेस को भोगती हूँ, मीन्स खाने में, पीने में, सोने में, सुनने में, सूंघने में, all those things are giving me happiness, and I keep repeating one after another. I just, one sense contact goes, doesn't matter. I bring up another sense contact to give me another set of happiness. And then I change it and I go somewhere else. And I keep myself busy because मेरे को सिर्फ इंद्रियों के विषयों में आनंद आता है. Then the senses will seek the sense objects. तो इसमें फिर he said, do not disturb these people. Krishna said, जो जुड़े हुए हैं अपने ही गुणों से, मूड हैं, जो मूड हैं, जो मूड हैं, जुड़े हुए हैं अपने अपने इंद्रिय विषयों के साथ, आनंद के साथ, अहंकार के साथ, इस शरीर के साथ, कर्ता बनके, भोक्ता बनके, दिस व्यवहारिक लाइफ में आगे कुछ सोचना नहीं, पीछे कुछ देखना नहीं. They are satisfied with their own pursuit the way they pursue themselves. Do not disturb them, because everybody puts in the effort in the direction according to their own swabhav, according to their own nature. What can force do? आप जबरदस्ती कैसे उसको खींच सकते हो, आप उसको बाहर का तो फोर्स चल ही नहीं सकता, is the तात्पर्यम of the 33rd verse. No one, that's why भाष्यम had explained, mama और अन्य, किसी और का या मेरा, कृष्णा सिंह, ना मेरा एफर्ट उन्हें रोक पाएगा ना किसी और का. External effort cannot change you. Your own weaknesses of your own senses, your own raga-dvesh, are powerful enough. Note that first. प्रकृति हमारी बलवान है, इसको पहचानने के बाद पुरुषार्थ कहाँ लगता है इस समझ में. And that is the crux I said as I started the class. For any seeker, this is a blessing because it has given them the starting point. What is the starting point? Starting point is tayoho vasham na agachet. राग द्वेष के, अपने राग द्वेष के वश में ना आना, ये आपका पुरुषार्थ है. This is possible for you, even though they are very, very powerful. If you are not alert, okay, let me rephrase this last line. They are very powerful. Because they are powerful, they will take you away. इसलिए गुस्सा भी आता है, greed भी होता है, jealous, all these happen because they are powerful. Correct. But are you helpless? Has Bhagwan, means Krishna says, I have left a little scope there for your improvement in a human birth. In a human birth, despite the strength of these indriyas and your samskars, despite that, I have given you an independent faculty. एक तो विवेक शक्ति है हर इंसान के अंदर. उस विवेक शक्ति के हिसाब से employing that vivek shakti in yourself, identifying and attaching yourself to your right understanding, gained through Shastra and Shastra Vichar, gained through that, your right understanding what you have, holding that understanding, you can put up a fight against your raga-dvesh. Therefore, where is the purusharth? क्या इन बलवान इंद्रियों को हम रोक सकते हैं? Shastra says, Acharya say, the Parampara says. In fact, why is Shastra useful? Because they are the ones who tell us that हाँ रोक सकते हो. Do you see the difference? अपनी अपनी मर्जी के हिसाब से तो हम चाहेंगे तो बहते जाएंगे, चलते जाएंगे, हमें रास्ता दिखेगा ही नहीं, हमें पता ही नहीं स्टार्ट कहाँ करना है. You know, I give this example very, very often because there are two places, 2-3 examples that I give. One of them is Vaishnav Devi. What amazing, I'm talking long ago, not how developed it is now. I don't know in the latest. I'm talking 30, 40 years back. The starting point, Katra, I think, is the starting point. The starting point is all town. It's developed into a town, kind of mini place where everybody comes. That's your base. The base from where you start. But once you start off on that journey, rasta to ek hi hai. As you keep going closer and closer and closer, higher and higher, closer to the temple, as you keep arriving closer and closer to the temple, you started from the right place so you could go to the right destination. आप सही स्थान से शुरू हुए हो तो आप सही गंतव्य तक, आप सही destination तक पहुंच रहे हो, because you have started from the right place, the place which takes you there you start from. So Krishna is telling Arjun, you are by gunas a Kshatriya. Your starting point to say that I will take to a life of sannyas, that force will not work in your life because your natural inclinations will seek expression. Your starting point is raga-dvesh ko roko. And raga-dvesh ko rokna is your purusharth. इस पुरुषार्थ से आप अपने कर्म जब करोगे without raga-dvesh, impelling it. Madhusudan ji is going to elaborate this in a few lines. without impelled by the raga-dvesh, when you will do what you should be doing, slowly the raga-dvesh becomes weak. उनका बल छूटने लगता है, because you are not lending strength to it by flowing with it. There is one of the present day uh, formulas used for people who become addicts and things like that. One of them is delayed gratification. Delay your gratification means what? Sensory gratification. Sensory gratification means instant pleasure. जहां मुझे अभी सुख दिख रहा है, मुझे अभी चाहिए. That's called instant gratification. Instant pleasure. Falling for instant pleasures. Here Shastra is advising us, prevent that. Do not fall a victim to. Do not get pressurized. Do not flow away. Put up a resistance. Knowing that raga-dvesh takes you to your own destruction. And Madhusudan ji says it takes you to Narakam. Narakam means hell, a hellish life. A life in hell, as if means राग-द्वेष जब बढ़ता है ना, तो वो आपके जीवन को पूरा नष्ट कर देता है. It makes it hell to live. So many people say, na, it's a hell that I'm living in. I live in a hell, that kind of a thing. It becomes unbearable. Things get complicated, situations get messed up. People don't get happiness in anything. They're just wanting, but they don't get it in anything, because starting point was your starting point of life is at a wrong point. Where was the point? Indulgence. Already राग द्वेष है, already likes and dislikes है, आप उसी को और फीड कर रहे हो, आप उसी को उसके साथ ही चलते जा रहे हो. That will become stronger and stronger, and more strength they gain, lesser will be, you will feel lesser strength to fight it. With every yield means giving in. With every giving in of your raga-dvesh, to your raga-dvesh, with every giving in flowing along with your raga-dvesh, you will find lesser and lesser strength in yourself to resist it. After some time, Buddhi just stops guiding. Buddhi just says, it's okay. Tumhari marzi. Any verse anybody can remember? Where we saw a similar thing, where the Buddhi gets destroyed completely.
Ladder of Fall,
Ladder
verse
of
62.
Fall. The
Chapter
Buddhi
2,
get, absolutely. The ladder of fall, where the Buddhi is shown to get destroyed completely. And after that, now there is no, now you will just go slip into, you know, जब ऐसे, when you see the news items and you see the flow of water, what strength in that water? कुछ नहीं उसको रेजिस्ट कर पा रहा, सब उसके बहाव में बहते जाते हैं. इंद्रियों का ये बहाव है, संसार में खींच जाते हैं. That is why Shastra again and again keeps reminding us, keep yourself living in a way that you at least do not grow your likes and dislikes. होना ठीक है, but उनको इतना मत बढ़ावा दे दो. Do not indulge in your likes and dislikes to such an extent that they start controlling you, that they start having a power over you. Your likes and dislikes should always be countered by your effort, neutralized by your own effort. That's the purusharth that you can put in. And so, as per whatever questions were asked yesterday, I hope you've got answered. If not, we'll still elaborate a little more, and with the help of the text, you will get even more clarity later on. That this whole process of figuring out where my weakness lies and what weakens me, what binds me and how I can free myself. Krishna says you free yourself by doing what you should do, not what you like to do. If I have a desire for acquiring a yellow car, that should not be the base for my action. My action should be I aspire, whichever field I'm working in, let me dedicate so much in that field of my effort that the car comes by the way. And that's another principle of life. If you live righteously without feeding your raga-dvesh, most of your desires get automatically fulfilled. आपको उनके पीछे भागना ही नहीं पड़ता. राग द्वेष आपको भगाते हैं. आप अपने जीवन की गति को ऐसे रखो कि आप उनके पीछे नहीं भाग रहे, वो अपने आप फुलफिल होते रहते हैं. You seek me, says Krishna. In which verse did he say, seek me?
Mai
You,
sarvani.
you seek me through your actions. और ये जितनी भी आपकी इच्छाएं इंद्रियों में है बैठी हुई हैं, सब धीरे धीरे एक तो कमजोर हो जाएंगी. दैट मीन्स most of them will fall off. You won't need to, because the anand is what you're looking for in life. Happiness is what you're looking for in life. Who said there is no happiness in a higher pursuit? Just because it is a delayed happiness. In sensory gratification, it is instant happiness. In all our spiritual practices, in karam yoga, in doing actions for his sake, in upasana yoga, in just doing what you ought to do, there seems to be no happiness at this point. But there will be a happiness later on. At another place, he says, what is pleasure to you now will become bondage later. And what is seemingly difficult now will give you pleasure later. So that becomes a discerning factor. अगर आज मुझे ये दिक्कत दिख रही है लेकिन मुझे बुद्धि कह रही है कि मुझे ये करना चाहिए, तो let me not resist that. Change that attitude is in my purusharth. Let me do what is supposed to do. धीरे धीरे it becomes easier, and at a time it becomes enjoyable. When it becomes enjoyable, when your righteous life becomes enjoyable, everything falls off, because मन तो सिर्फ आनंद ही चाह रहा है ना. That is how these great souls, these great sant that we have, Meera could stay, Kabir could stay, all these, so many examples in our country there are. They could just stay with Atma Rati, Atma Tripti, Atma Santushti. They could be with that. Starting point for everyone was
इंद्रियों पे निग्रह.
इंद्रियों का निग्रह.
सबके
सबके लिए.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean by instant gratification को delay कर दो? इसका क्या मतलब होता है?
Yeah. Supposing you project a happiness on any object. My common example is, it's lovely weather, I want to have ice cream, pakoras. If I want to have pakoras and ice cream, what do? What does an average person do? What is normally?
Go to the store.
Sorry?
Go to the store or order.
Thanks to Zomato and Swiggy's, you can order them. Go to the store, buy them. Is there a need to think anything over there? It's sanctioned, no? Arey, mausam aisa hai. Everybody says lovely, lovely. Therefore, let's have pakora. Perfect weather for pakoras, garam chai and anyway, chai and ice cream later. Let's have this. Natural. What is delayed gratification? I will do something that I must do As a reward, I will go and have my ice cream. I'll repeat this. I will do what I ought to be doing. जो मेरा मन मेरे को करने को मना कर रहा था, it could be simple things, some household chore, it could be anything. Hmm. uh, गीता की चैंटिंग की प्रैक्टिस करनी थी, या एनीथिंग जो मेरा मन मान नहीं रहा था, आई वॉज अवॉइडिंग इट. मन कह रहा है अब मुझे तो पकौड़े खाने हैं. व्हाट विल आई डू? आई विल से ये कर लो, फिर रिवॉर्ड मिलेगा. एज अ रिवॉर्ड, गो हैव एन आइसक्रीम और गो हैव पकौड़ास. You have delayed your sense of urgency to have it now. That's called delayed gratification.
How does it help people? Like,
It will
strength
weaken
comes out of that?
it will weaken your raga-dvesha a little. So it will allow your own buddhi to be assertive. You will be able to keep the control in your hands and not let the raga-dvesha take your mind away. In time, you will realize that you can keep yourself freed from the sense of urgency and the flow in which they push you into action. And as Krishna says, your actions should anyway be dedicated to me. So you can, the more power in your hands with reference to your pleasures and gratifications, better management of your own peace is there. Mind, better management of your own mind will be there. Okay, everyone.
Basically, one big thing I wanted to ask, if I had delayed it and said, okay, let's not have it today, maybe some other day, would it be the same?
Yes, it would be better probably. If you can delay it to another day completely, that's excellent, because you will realize by that day probably you don't want it.
And many times that urgency doesn't come also. Once you delay it,
Exactly.
it just disappears also.
That's the whole point. It just suddenly disappears. And postpone it, in other words. If you postpone it, then you will realize you are not victimized by it.
Dhanyawad.
Yeah. So the word, meaning of the word shobhana. Shobhana means when I am looking at an object with a presumption based on my like for it, that it will give me happiness. So I have superimposed a pleasurable end upon the acquisition of that object. So that shobhana means it's an imagination. It's, best alternative is daydreaming. When we just daydream and we visualize things that have no relevance to reality. So you're projecting it on an object based on your likes, thinking that this in the future will give me happiness. That connection is shobhana, desirability. You're valuing it, thinking it will give me happiness. That is shobhana. Misplacing it on an object is adhyasa. So it's called shobhana adhyasa. कि इसमें मेरा आनंद है, ये शोभना अध्यास है. Okay. So here we will quickly say, so far everybody okay? Now anyone has a question up to this point? Very, very important, because next verse also he is going to say that therefore Stick to your own nature. I'll just upon the next verse also in a connection to this. He says, Shreyan Swadharmaha. Shreyaha, better. Better is one's own dharmas. Even if they are vigunaha. Vigunaha means they are not they're deficient in their expression, means they are not vigunaha means इतने अच्छे नहीं है, means they have आपका स्वधर्म आप गुणी नहीं है, means in your swadharam, or say like yesterday we gave an example, if brooming is a part of your swadharam, it doesn't look to be very attractive, it doesn't look to be very desirable. In that sense, अगर आपके स्वधर्म में गुण नहीं दिख रहा आपको, परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् is not perfect, okay, मगर परधर्म में आपको ज्यादा गुण दिख रहा है ना. देयर इज स्वधर्म मीन्स मेरे अपने स्वभाव के हिसाब से मुझे कर्म करने चाहिए. Even if there seems to be another one's dharmas which seem to be of a better gunas, परत धर्म मुझे ज्यादा अट्रैक्टिव लग रहा है, परत धर्म में मुझे ज्यादा फायदा दिख रहा है, परत धर्म मुझे ज्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है, फिर भी अपने ही धर्म को फॉलो करते रहना is far more shreyas, because in following your swadharma you will still gain gati, even if it is imperfect. Maybe perfect should be there. Even if it is imperfectly executed, swadharam ko even if you have imperfectly executed, even then it will have a gati for you, rather than following अनुष्ठितात. परधर्म को फॉलो करने से परधर्मः भयावहः. Following paradharma is calling for bhaya, fear. When you follow paradharma, you are calling for fear, means you are triggering fear in yourself. Whereas even if it is unattractive, even if it is deficient, even if it is flawed, stick to your nature, and whatever your inclinations and nature are propelling you towards, in the name of what my duties are within my nature, those duties alone is your way of growth, by controlling your indriyas and by directing your actions and efforts towards the higher. So, swadharam is better to follow than following paradharma. Now, in Arjun's context, this is very, very clear. What was his swadharam?
Fight the war, not become a sannyasi.
And what was paradharma?
Becoming a sannyasi.
Become a sannyasi. So, for him, swadharma was fight the war. Better is to fight this war and die, even if you have not done it perfectly. Mar bhi jao isme nidhanam, even if you die in this, that will be better for you than taking sannyas, because that sannyas is fraught with fear. It will trigger fear in you later. And it's a huge piece of advice. When I was younger and I was more in schools, and your entire programming can be based on helping people identify what their swadharam is and allowing them to go along with it. Society should be based on swadharma, not pressurized to follow paradharma. Because another example is, if If a job is offering me a lot of money, a very high place, but by nature, I am not inclined to deal at such a high pressured responsibility. I by nature I don't want to take such a high pressure, but it's giving me a lot of money. It's giving me a very high status. What should I be doing? Simple.
Don't get lost.
Hmm?
I should not get tempted.
I should not get tempted. Why?
It may
Because
bring a lot of money.
I will not be able to do a good job of it.
Why?
Because it doesn't suit my nature.
And that will cause fear in me.
That will cause uncertainty, fear. आपको हमेशा मन में डाउट रहेगा, am I doing good enough, am I doing right? आप फिर और लोगों को देखोगे और आप सोचोगे अच्छा ये ऐसे करना है, because this is not a natural knowledge to you. आपके अपने स्वभाव में वो ज्ञान ही नहीं है आपको, लेकिन आपको अच्छा लगा क्योंकि वो ज़्यादा पैसा वहाँ है, ज़्यादा इज्जत वहाँ है, आप दुनिया घूमोगे एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. It gave you a kind of a appearance, that is shobhanatyasa. It makes you feel as if they give you such an allure towards, you will be traveling here in business class and you'll be staying in five-star hotels, and you'll have two secretaries, personal secretaries, and blah 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 blah. A lot of it is my imagination because I really don't know. But if that is being offered, but on your own assessment, you say, I don't think I'm a leader. I don't think I'm in a position where I can lead an organization, and people's life and people's yeah, careers can be based on my decisions. I don't know if I can do it. Yet it's a very attractive thing. Anybody would want that for their own resume. It would be lovely to have it on my resume. But if I have a background in this Shastra Vidya, I won't even have a doubt rejecting it. Why? Because even if it's tempting, in fact, that's what this verse is saying, even if it tempts you and it looks as if हाँ मैं कर सकती हूँ या कर सकता हूँ, even then अपने स्वधर्म को एक बार देख लेना. अगर वो आपके स्वधर्म में नहीं है तो don't do it, because you will come to a state of mind where there'll be self doubts. You'll come to a state of mind where you'll always be questioning yourself. You will say, am I doing the right thing, am I doing the wrong thing? You'll never be able to deliver enough. Then those things will start falling into your physical symptoms, just as it happened with Arjun. Okay, so he says, now start once again. We'll do the bhashyams next class, probably cover them up together. Start once again. Quickly run over the thought flow. He said, um, I do work even though I'm not supposed to. It's difficult to recognize your swadharam. How can you do that? Firstly, is your yesterday's question answered? Please do say that. If not, we can elaborate that. How do you recognize your swadharam? Um, Best is first and foremost, stick to your um, where you are born, in which environment you're born. That will give you some clue to what your inclinations inherently could be, which you haven't yet recognized, but they are not certain. So the second step would be, means they can only be a broad outline. So if I'm born in a trader's family, then I know that I likely my gunas will be vyapari, but I cannot be certain, because then I see, am I the same as everyone else? In my family, those who are very very money oriented or trading oriented बड़ा naturally कर सकते हैं, क्या मैं भी कर सकती हूँ या कर सकता हूँ? Start examining your own interests, keeping in mind where your major family associations are first, and be very specific in your honest in your own thinking. What am I inclined, where do I find more fulfillment in, where do I find more liking towards, which field of activity is natural to me, what kind of thinking comes naturally to me. Am I prone to reasoning? Am I prone to non-reasoning attitude? If it's a non-reasoning, means I go by instinct, I go by intuitions or whatever I believe. हवा में मतलब हवा में as in um, I'm just emotionally based in that sense. I don't do much thinking. I'm very emotionally based. And which field can be natural? So there's a lot of questioning about one's own interest that helps to locate one's swadharma. In Shastra Drishti, swadharma ideally only meant varna and ashram. आपका स्वधर्म वर्ड ही शास्त्र का वर्ड है. स्वधर्म शास्त्र कहता है अपने स्वधर्म के हिसाब से अपना जीवन यात्रा करो. आप जहाँ आपका स्वधर्म है, जो आप आश्रम में हो, जिस आप मीन्स आप ब्रह्मचरी में हो, गृहस्थ में हो, संन्यास में हो, वानप्रस्थ में हो, आप जिस आश्रम में हो, आप जिस अवस्था में हो, बाल अवस्था, यौवन अवस्था एक्सेट्रा, आप जिस अवस्था और जिस आश्रम में हो, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली शास्त्र आपको सर्टेन गाइडलाइंस दे देता है. यू आर सपोज टू फॉलो देम. दैट इज योर फॉलोइंग योर स्वधर्मा. So if you are supposing born in a family which was like Arjun is born in a kshatriya as a king, he's a prince, he's born in a family which is supposed to only do protection of people, his swadharma is fairly outlined. So since that is not so clear in the present times, one can still get some sort of an attitude, some sort of a recognition when one sees where is my starting point of this life, in which sort of an environment I am born. That can give me some clue. I can completely reject that environment like Prahlad did. He could completely reject the environment in which he was born. Prahlad, I hope the meaning is correct. Prahlad, the word connects with you. Which Prahlad am I talking about?
I think the
Hanji.
Yeah, Hiranyakaship's son.
Hiranyakashipu's son. So he was born in an environment of Danavs, Rakshasas, but yet he was a Bhakta, Vishnu Bhakta. And by his gunas, he knew I don't belong there. But these are exceptions. Most of us are not in an exceptional category. Therefore, we first stick to the generalization, means take the general formula. The general formula is my starting point in which environment I'm born in, gives me clues of what my nature could be. From here, I see, do I really fit into it, or am I into some sort of an exception category? And it starts to identify. Alternative to all this is, and easier is, whatever comes to your understanding as this could be my dharma, follow that. आपको बहुत ज़्यादा आर्टिकुलेट और बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेसिफिक होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. अगर नहीं क्लैरिटी है तो मुझे कुछ तो समझ में आता है कि मेरे धर्म क्या है. मेरे को जो मेरी समझ के धर्म है, मुझे उसको अर्पण करना है. सो एवरीबडी हैज सम सेंस ऑफ ड्यूटी विद इन देम. ऐसा कोई भी नहीं है जिसको नहीं होती है अपनी ही ड्यूटी का एहसास, स्पेशली व्हेन दैट ड्यूटी कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट्स some sort of a um, some sort of a not wanting to do it. ना जब कुछ करने की होती है और मेरा मन नहीं करता है तो वो तो you start questioning, maybe it is my duty, that's why मेरा मन नहीं कर रहा करने को. So that way also you can get one of these idea, one of some clue about what is your sadhana. I hope that's gives some clarity, some connection, some idea. Most welcome.
जी, I love that part where you said that ये मेरी शायद मेरी ड्यूटी है, इसीलिए मेरा करने का दिल नहीं कर रहा.
हाँ, बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि मैं तो बहुत बार पकड़ती हूँ, ऐसे ही बहुत बार पकड़ती हूँ कि भैया अगर मेरा मन नहीं कर रहा तो पहले देख लो कि कहीं ये मेरी ड्यूटी तो नहीं है. अगर ड्यूटी है तो फिर अब मन को मतलब you cannot act on it then because it will be dangerous. It's in fact after some time of practicing on your duties, that you start enjoying doing your duties, then you are freed of that state. ये जिंदगी भर के लिए लाइफ लॉन्ग तो नहीं है. A little practice of this also brings you to a point where you start enjoying your duties. In fact, it becomes burdensome to act on your likes and dislikes. People will ask you, wow, what do you like? What, because ये तो व्यवहार में सब पूछेंगे. आपको आइसक्रीम अच्छी लगती है, कौन सी अच्छी लगती है, and then you go blank on your face because you, it doesn't matter to you, कोई भी आइसक्रीम चलती है. बट नहीं, लोग नहीं समझेंगे कि अरे कोई भी आइसक्रीम कैसे चल सकती है, बताओ कौन सी अच्छी लगती है. अरे, you know what I mean? So both places it becomes true. Initially you can get the guidance. Am I avoiding it because I don't want to do it because it's my duty? Once I've trained myself to act on duty as offering to Bhagwan, to Ishvara, फल इच्छा से तोड़ के, अपने आप को छोड़ के, जब मैंने ये आदत बना ली, उसके बाद ड्यूटी में इतना आनंद है कि राग द्वेष और लाइक्स एंड डिसलाइक्स की पूर्णता तो तुच्छ है. तुच्छ, you know what तुच्छ is? What is तुच्छ? What is तुच्छ?
Very small, very minimal,
insignificant. Minuscule, insignificant,
Inconspicuous.
Inconsequential, trivial, inconspicuous. Everybody तुच्छ लगती है राग द्वेष. Can you imagine? आज हमको अपना राग द्वेष इतना ह्यूज लगता है. अगर मुझे मेरी इच्छा पूरी हो जाए तो ऐसा लगता है सब मिल गया. And when you start enjoying karma yoga and you start enjoying your spiritual disciplines, उसमें जो आनंद आता है, राग द्वेष का आनंद तो तुच्छ हो जाता है. It doesn't attract anymore. It doesn't. In fact, it's
Sometimes
an obstacle.
You miss it.
Sorry?
You miss it also. Sometimes you miss it. Like you haven't, suppose you've done something, you've not offered it to God, so you miss it.
Yeah.
You'll be like, yaar, aaj to kuch nahi offered. Yeah.
So now we've come a few steps ahead. And when you start establishing in it, there the offerer and the offered, that line disappears. वो line distinguishable ही नहीं रह जाती कि मैं किसको ऑफर कर रही हूँ, कौन किसको ऑफर करता है. That gets disappeared. But very good. Excellent. Yes, everyone, I think it's time to wind up. We'll continue this thought flow. I think it should be clear now. Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very clear, very clear.
Okay. Yes. Neetuji, can you end the class?
Yes. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayaha. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam. Nyayen margen mahim mahisha. Go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam. Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu. Kale varshatu parjanyah. Prithvi sasya shalini. Desho yam shobharahitah. Brahmana santu nirbhayaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Recording stopped.
Dhanyavad Dipti ji.
Dhanyavad.
It was a very,
Thank
very
you.
beautiful
Thank you,
class.
Dipti ji.
Very nice class.
Thank you. I know.
Hari Om Deepti ji, thank you.
Hari Om, thank you so much. Hari Om ji. And I am. Okay. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.